Zara stood in the cold metal hallway as the doors closed behind her with a loud bang. The sound echoed through the empty space like a final judgment. She was alone now, truly alone for the first time in her life. Her small hands shook as she picked up the single bag that held everything she owned. The ship that brought her here was already leaving. She could hear its engines getting quieter and quieter until there was nothing but silence. Zara was 5 feet tall, which made her a freak among her own people. The Kelthani were supposed to be 8 feet tall, strong like mountains, fierce like storms. She was none of these things. Her whole life, Zara had been different. When other Kelthani children grew tall and strong, she stayed small. When they learned to fight with swords and guns, she learned to fix machines and solve problems. But none of that mattered to the council. They saw only her size, only her failure to be what a Kelthani should be. "You bring shame to our race," Council Leader Vex had said during her trial. His voice was deep and cold like winter wind. "You are broken, defective. We cannot allow such weakness to spread among our people." Zara had tried to speak, tried to show them her work, her inventions, her ideas, but they would not listen. In their eyes, she was already dead. They gave her one choice, exile or death. She chose exile, though sometimes she wondered if death would have been easier. Now she was here on Haven's Rest, a dirty trading station far from any civilized world. The air smelled like oil and sweat and fear. Aliens of all kinds walked through the narrow halls, but none of them looked at her with kindness. To them, she was just another outcast, another broken thing looking for a place to hide. Zara walked through the station, her bag heavy on her shoulder. She had some money, but not much. She needed to find work, find food, find a place to sleep. But who would hire a small Kelthani? Who would trust someone that even her own people had thrown away? The first person she asked laughed at her. The second one spat on the ground and walked away. The third one, a fat trader with too many arms, looked her up and down like she was a piece of meat. "You're too small for real work," he said with a nasty smile. "But maybe I can find something for you to do in the back rooms." Zara felt sick. She knew what he meant and she turned away quickly. She would rather starve than sell herself like that. She had lost her home, her family, her people, but she still had her pride. Days passed. Zara slept in empty rooms and ate scraps when she could find them. Her money was almost gone. She was getting thin and weak, but she would not give up. Every day she looked for work, any kind of work that would let her survive. Then she heard about the salvage jobs. These were dangerous missions where people went into broken ships to take out valuable parts. Most beings were too big to fit into the small spaces where the best salvage was hidden, but Zara was different. Zara was small. The first job almost killed her. The ship was old and falling apart, full of sharp metal and poisonous gas. But Zara crawled through spaces no one else could reach, and found computer parts worth more money than she had seen in weeks. The salvage boss paid her, but only half of what he promised. "You're lucky I pay you anything," he said. No one else would hire a defective Kelthani. That word defective cut through her like a knife. But Zara took the money and said nothing. She needed to eat more than she needed her feelings. More jobs came. Zara crawled through broken ships, fixed old machines, and solved problems that others could not handle. She was good at it, better than anyone expected. Her small size let her go places others could not. Her quick mind helped her understand complex systems. But still, people looked down on her. Other salvagers made fun of her. They called her names, played cruel jokes, and treated her like she was not even a real person. Some days Zara wondered why she kept trying. Some days she thought about giving up, about finding some quiet corner of space where she could just disappear. But something inside her would not quit. Maybe it was anger at the people who had thrown her away. Maybe it was hope that someday, somewhere, she would find a place where she belonged. Or maybe it was just too stubborn to die. Months passed. Zara got better at her work and learned to avoid the worst of the bullies. She found a small room to rent and enough food to keep her alive. It was not a good life, but it was hers. She was free, even if freedom was cold and lonely. Late at night, when the station was quiet, Zara would look out the windows at the stars. Somewhere out there were her people, living their lives as if she had never existed. They thought they were strong, but they had thrown away someone who could have helped them. They thought they were pure, but they had let fear make them cruel. Zara touched the small scar on her hand where they had removed her family mark. She was no longer Kelthani in their eyes. But maybe that was not such a bad thing. Maybe being cast out meant she was free to become something new, something better. She did not know it yet, but change was coming. Soon she would meet people who saw her differently, who valued her for who she was instead of punishing her for who she was not. Soon her real life would begin. The argument started like all the others. Zara stood in front of Goreks, a large blue alien who owned half the salvage contracts on the station. Her hands were dirty from crawling through another broken ship, but she had done the job perfectly. Now Goreks was trying to cheat her again. The payment was supposed to be 200 credits, Zara said, keeping her voice steady. She had learned not to show anger or fear around people like Goreks. It only made them worse. Goreks laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. That was before I saw how long it took you. A real salvager would have finished in half the time. A real salvager could not have fit through the access panels, Zara replied. I got parts that no one else could reach. The deal was 200 credits. The deal is whatever I say it is, little freak. Goreks leaned forward, using his size to try to scare her. Take the 100 credits or take nothing. Your choice. Zara felt that familiar burning in her chest, the anger that came from being treated like garbage over and over again. But before she could speak, someone else stepped into the conversation. Excuse me, a voice said. I could not help but overhear. Zara turned to see a human male walking toward them. He was average height for his species, maybe 6 feet tall with brown hair and kind eyes. He wore the blue uniform of a cargo ship crew member. Zara had seen humans before but never talked to one. This is not your business, human, Gorek said with a growl. The human smiled, but Zara could see something dangerous in that smile. Actually, it is my business. I need to hire someone for salvage work, and I was listening to your conversation. It sounds like this lady here just did excellent work and you are trying to cheat her. She is defective goods, Gorek said. Look at her. She's barely half the size of a real Kelthani. So what? The human asked. She got the job done, right? She found parts that bigger people could not reach. Sounds like her size was perfect for the work. Zara stared at the human. No one had ever defended her before. No one had ever said her size was an advantage. She did not know what to say. Goreks was getting angry. His blue skin was turning purple around the edges. You humans do not understand. She is a genetic failure cast out by her own people. Why would you want damaged goods? The human's expression grew cold. Where I come from, we judge people by what they can do, not by how they look. And from what I just heard, she can do things that you cannot. Now, are you going to pay her what you owe? Or do I need to report this theft to station security? For a moment, Zara thought Goreks might try to fight. But the human stood his ground, not backing down even though Goreks was much larger. Finally, Goreks threw the credits on the counter with a curse. Take your money, freak, he said to Zara, but do not expect any more work from me. That is fine, the human said before Zara could speak. She has a job with us now. Zara picked up her credits with shaking hands. She still could not believe what had just happened. When Gorek stomped away, the human turned to her with a smile. Sorry about that, he said. I am Jake Mitchell, engineer on the cargo ship New Dawn. Are you really available for salvage work? I am Zara, she said quietly. And yes, I do salvage work. But why did you help me? Jake looked confused by the question. Because it was the right thing to do. That guy was cheating you. He paused and studied her face. When was the last time someone stood up for you? Zara thought about it. Never, she said. Jake's expression grew sad. Well, that changes today. Come on, let me buy you a drink and tell you about the job. They went to a small bar near the docks. Jake ordered something called coffee for himself and asked Zara what she wanted. She was so nervous she could barely speak. Why was this human being nice to her? What did he want? Our ship has a problem, Jake explained as they sat down. We have been hauling cargo for 3 months without a proper maintenance stop. Some of our systems are breaking down, but they are in spaces too small for normal-sized people to reach. Our captain was about to hire a repair crew, but that would cost a fortune and take weeks. What kind of systems? Zara asked. Despite her nervousness, she was curious about the technical challenge. Jake's eyes lit up. Power conduits, mostly. Also some computer networks and air recycling units. The access panels are barely 2 feet wide in some places. Most of our crew cannot even get their shoulders through. Zara found herself leaning forward. This was the kind of work she was good at. The kind that made her feel useful instead of broken. What kind of ship is it? How old? What power systems do you use? For the next hour, Jake answered her questions. He did not talk down to her or act like she was stupid. He listened to her ideas and even asked for her opinion on some technical problems. Zara felt something she had not felt in a long time. Respect. You really know your stuff, Jake said finally. Our captain is going to love you. Your captain? Zara felt fear creep back in. Will she mind that I am Kelthany? Why would she mind? Jake asked. Captain Linda Hayes cares about results, not species. If you can fix our ship, she will be your biggest fan. They walked to the New Dawn together. It was a good-sized cargo ship, old but well-maintained. Zara could see the care that went into keeping it running. As they walked up the ramp, Jake pointed out different systems and explained how they worked. Jake, there you are, a woman's voice called. Did you find someone for the repair job? Captain Hayes was a tough-looking woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked Zara up and down, but not in the cruel way Zara was used to. She was evaluating her like a tool, checking if she was right for the job. This is Zara, Jake said. She knows more about ship systems than anyone I have met on this station. Can you fit through a 20-inch access panel? The captain asked. Yes, Zara said. Can you work in zero gravity? Yes. Can you identify and repair power conduits without shutting down life support? Zara felt more confident now. Yes, I can also upgrade your power efficiency by about 15% if you have the right parts. Captain Hayes raised an eyebrow. Show me. For the next 2 hours, Zara crawled through the ship's tight spaces, examining systems and making notes. The work was familiar and comforting. Here in these narrow passages, her size was not a weakness. It was exactly what was needed. When she emerged, covered in dust but smiling, she found Jake and the captain waiting for her. Well, the captain asked. I can fix everything, Zara said. It will take 3 days, maybe 4. And I can make improvements that will save you money on fuel and maintenance. Captain Hayes looked at Jake, then back at Zara. You are hired. Jake will show you to a guest cabin and get you whatever tools you need. As they walked to her temporary quarters, Jake smiled at her. Welcome to the crew, Zara. I think you are going to like it here. For the first time since leaving her homeworld, Zara felt something like hope. 3 weeks had passed since Zara joined the crew of the New Dawn, and she could hardly believe how much her life had changed. For the first time since leaving her homeworld, she woke up each morning without the fear of where her next meal would come from, or where she would sleep that night. The repairs had taken exactly 3 days, just as she had promised. Captain Hayes was so impressed with the improvements that she offered Zara a permanent position as the ship's maintenance specialist. Zara had accepted before the captain finished asking. Good morning, Zara, Jake said as she entered the mess hall for breakfast. He was sitting with Sam Turner, the ship's medic, and Katie Ross, their pilot. All 3 humans looked up with genuine smiles when they saw her. Morning, Zara replied, still getting used to being welcomed instead of ignored. She got her food and sat down with them, something that would have been impossible on Haven's Rest. Tell Sam about that trick you showed me yesterday, Jake said, the one with the power coupling. Zara felt her cheeks warm. Jake was always asking her to share her knowledge with the other crew members, treating her ideas like they were valuable. It is not that interesting, she said. Are you kidding? Jake laughed. You figured out how to boost our engine efficiency by 20% using spare parts. That is amazing. Sam leaned forward with interest. 20%? How? As Zara explained her modification, she noticed how the humans listened to her. They asked good questions and seemed genuinely excited about her work. Back home, even when she had good ideas, people dismissed them because of who she was. Here, her ideas mattered. You know, Katie said when Zara finished, my grandmother would have loved to meet you. She was an engineer too. Designed some of the first deep space navigation systems. She always said the best engineers were the ones who could see solutions that others missed. Your grandmother sounds wise, Zara said. She was. She also used to say that being different was not a problem to solve, but a gift to use. Katie smiled. I think she would have been right about you too. After breakfast, Zara went to work on the daily maintenance checks. These were routine jobs that kept the ship running smoothly. She enjoyed the quiet time crawling through the ship's passages, checking systems and making small repairs. It was peaceful work and it let her think. She was thinking about Jake, actually. Over the past few weeks, he had become more than just a friendly crewmate. He sought out her company during off hours, shared stories about Earth and human history, and listened when she talked about her life before exile. No one had ever shown such interest in her thoughts and feelings. Zara, Jake's voice came through her communicator. Can you come to the engine room? I want to show you something. She found him standing next to a holographic display showing star charts. What is it? She asked. I was thinking about what you said yesterday about how Kelthani ships used to explore unknown regions. Look at this. He pointed to an area of space marked with warning symbols. This is the void sector. Most ships avoid it because the gravitational fields make navigation almost impossible. But I was wondering, could your people's old navigation methods work here? Zara studied the display. The void sector was dangerous, but Jake was right. Ancient Kelthani had techniques for navigating by gravitational currents that modern ships had forgotten. It might work, she said slowly. But why would we want to go there? Because, Jake said with excitement, if we could find a safe route through the void, we could cut 3 weeks off cargo runs to the outer colonies. It would revolutionize shipping in this sector. The way he said we made Zara's heart flutter. He was not just asking for her knowledge. He was treating her as a partner in this discovery. I would need to study the gravitational maps, she said. And we would need to modify the navigation computer. Can you do it? Zara looked at the star chart again, her mind already working on the problem. Yes, she said. I think I can. They spent the next several days working together on the navigation system. Jake proved to be an excellent partner, quick to understand her ideas and good at solving the technical challenges. More than that, he made the work fun. He told jokes while they worked and asked about her life before exile. What was your family like? He asked one evening as they calibrated sensors. Zara was quiet for a moment. She had not talked about her family in months. My parents tried to love me, she said finally, but I was such a disappointment. My father was a great warrior and my mother came from a line of generals. They kept hoping I would grow, that I would become what they wanted me to be. That must have been hard, Jake said gently. The worst part was seeing the shame in their eyes. When the council banished me, they did not even say goodbye. I think they were relieved that I would not embarrass them anymore. Jake stopped working and looked at her. Zara, you know that is not your fault, right? You are not a disappointment. You are brilliant and brave and kind. Any parent would be lucky to have you as a daughter. The sincerity in his voice made Zara's eyes fill with tears. She had to look away so he would not see how much his words meant to her. Their moment was interrupted by an alarm. Captain Hayes's voice came over the ship's communication system. All hands to battle stations. We have a hostile vessel approaching. Zara and Jake rushed to the bridge where the captain and Katie were studying their screens. Outside the windows, Zara could see a dark ship moving toward them with obvious bad intentions. Pirates, Captain Hayes said grimly. They are demanding we surrender our cargo. Can we outrun them? Jake asked. Not with our current engine configuration, Katie replied. They are faster than us. The pirate ship fired a warning shot that shook the new dawn. This is your last chance, a rough voice said over the radio. Surrender or we will take your ship by force. Zara stared at the enemy vessel and noticed something important. Captain, she said, their ship has the same design as the freighter I worked on last month. If it is the same class, I know where their weapons control center is. Where? The captain asked. In the center of the ship, behind the main computer core, there is a maintenance shaft that leads directly to it, but it is too small for normal-sized people to use. Captain Hayes looked at her with sharp eyes. Are you saying what I think you are saying? Zara felt scared but determined. If I can get to their ship, I can disable their weapons from the inside. But I need to get aboard without them noticing. That is too dangerous, Jake said immediately. We will find another way. There is no other way, Zara replied. This is what I do. This is what I am good at. The captain was quiet for a moment, thinking, if you disable their weapons, we can escape. But how do we get you aboard their ship? The garbage disposal port, Zara said. It will be unguarded and big enough for me to fit through. If you can get close enough, I can make it work. 20 minutes later, Zara found herself floating in space wearing a lightweight suit, approaching the pirate ship through its waste disposal system. Her heart was pounding, but she felt more alive than she had in years. For once, her size was not just useful, it was heroic. She crawled through the narrow passages of the enemy ship, following the layout she remembered from the similar vessel. The pirates never imagined that someone could move through these tight spaces, so they had no guards or sensors here. When she reached the weapons control center, Zara quickly identified the main power coupling. With a few precise cuts, she disabled not just the weapons but also their engines and communications. The pirate ship went dark and began drifting helplessly. "Zara to New Dawn," she whispered into her communicator. "Weapons are down. You can come get me now." Jake's voice came back immediately, full of relief and pride. "Outstanding work, Zara. We are on our way." As the New Dawn's crew rescued her from the disabled pirate ship, Zara felt something she had never experienced before. The knowledge that she was exactly who she was supposed to be. Her size, her skills, her differentness. They were not flaws to be fixed, but gifts to be celebrated. And when Jake hugged her after she was safely back aboard, she realized that somewhere along the way, she had fallen in love with the human who had been the first person to see her true worth. The first time Jake kissed her, Zara thought her heart might stop beating. They were alone in the engine room, working late to repair a damaged power coupling, when he suddenly stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Zara," he said softly, "I need to tell you something." She looked up from her tools, confused by the serious tone in his voice. "What is it?" "I think I am falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them like something fragile and precious. Zara stared at him, unable to speak. No one had ever said those words to her before. No one had ever looked at her the way Jake was looking at her now, like she was beautiful and wonderful and worth loving. "You do not have to say anything," Jake said quickly, mistaking her silence for rejection. "I just wanted you to know how I feel." "Jake," Zara whispered, "I love you too." When he kissed her, gentle and sweet, Zara felt like she was floating among the stars. For the first time in her life, someone loved her exactly as she was. The next few weeks were the happiest of Zara's life. Jake was kind and funny and made her feel like the most important person in the universe. They spent their free time together, sharing stories and dreams. Jake told her about Earth, about cities with millions of people and oceans that stretched to the horizon. Zara told him about Kelthani culture, about the beautiful music her people made and the complex honor codes that governed their society. "I wish I could have met you before all the pain," Jake said one evening as they watched the stars through the observation deck windows. "I wish I could have been there to tell those people how wrong they were about you." "If you had been there, I might never have left," Zara replied. "And then I would never have found you." But their happiness could not last without challenges. When the New Dawn docked at Frontier Station for supplies, other crews began to notice Zara and Jake together. The reactions were not always kind. "Look at that," Zara heard one human pilot whisper to his friend. "That guy is dating a reject Kelthani. What is wrong with him?" "Maybe he has a thing for freaks," his friend replied with a cruel laugh. Jake heard them too. His face went dark with anger and he started to walk toward them, but Zara caught his arm. "Do not," she said quietly. "It will only make things worse." "I am not going to let them talk about you like that," Jake said. "People have been talking about me like that my whole life," Zara replied. "Their words cannot hurt me anymore." But that was not entirely true. The words did hurt, especially when they came from other humans. She had begun to think of humanity as different, more accepting than other species. Learning that some humans could be just as cruel as anyone else was disappointing. The real test came when they encountered other Kelthani. The New Dawn was delivering cargo to a mining colony when 3 Kelthani warriors approached them at the spaceport. Zara recognized their leader immediately, Korth, one of her childhood tormentors who had made her life miserable before her exile. "Well, well," Korth said with a nasty smile. "Look what crawled out of the garbage. I heard you were dead." "Little freak." "Hello, Korth," Zara said, keeping her voice steady despite the fear growing in her chest. Korth looked at Jake, who had stepped protectively closer to Zara. "And who is this? Your keeper?" "I am her boyfriend," Jake said firmly. "And you need to back off." The 3 Kelthani laughed like this was the funniest thing they had ever heard. "A human dating a genetic failure," Korth said. "I suppose even humans have perverts who like broken toys." Jake's face turned red with anger. "She is not broken. She is brilliant and brave and worth 10 of you." "Brave?" Korth stepped closer, using his 8-foot height to tower over Jake. "She hides behind aliens because she is too weak to face her own people. She brings shame to the Kelthani name just by existing. The only shame here is how you treat someone who never did anything wrong," Jake shot back. "She is small, so what? That does not make her less valuable. It makes her defective," Korth snarled. "She is a genetic mistake that should have been eliminated at birth. That was when Jake lost his temper completely. Despite being much smaller than the Kelthani warrior, he stepped forward aggressively. "How dare you talk about the woman I love like that? Zara has more intelligence and courage in her little finger than you have in your entire oversized body." The crowd of aliens that had gathered to watch began murmuring. Some seemed impressed by Jake's fierce defense of Zara. Others looked confused by the idea that anyone would fight for a defective Kelthani. "You think your words mean anything to me, human?" Korth asked. "I have crushed stronger beings than you." "Try it," Jake said. "See what happens when you mess with a human's family." Captain Hayes chose that moment to arrive with Sam and Katie behind her. "Is there a problem here?" she asked in the voice she used when she was about to start shooting. Korth looked at the 4 humans standing together in defense of Zara, and seemed to realize he might be outnumbered. "No problem," he said with disgust. "We were just leaving. Try not to contaminate too many humans with your defective genes, freak." After the Kelthani left, Zara was shaking, not from fear, but from the overwhelming emotion of having people stand up for her. "Thank you," she whispered to Jake. "You never have to thank me for loving you," he replied, holding her close. That night, Dr. Patricia Wells contacted the ship. She was a human scientist who specialized in alien genetics, and she had heard about the confrontation from someone at the spaceport. "I have been studying Kelthani genetics for years," she told them over the video call. "If you are willing, I would like to run some tests on Zara's DNA. I have a theory about what you call defective Kelthani." Zara was nervous about the tests, but Jake encouraged her to try. "Maybe we can learn something that will help other people like you," he said. The results came back 3 days later, and Dr. Wells was excited when she called them. "Zara, you are not defective at all. You are evolutionary." "What do you mean?" Zara asked. "Your genetic sequence shows markers that are extremely rare in modern Kelthani," Dr. Wells explained. "But when I compared them to ancient Kelthani DNA samples, I found perfect matches. You carry genes that were common thousands of years ago, before your people became focused on physical size and strength." "I do not understand," Zara said. "Ancient Kelthani were explorers and scientists," Dr. Wells continued. "They valued intelligence, creativity, and adaptability over pure physical power. Your smaller size comes with enhanced neural development, improved fine motor control, and increased problem-solving abilities. You are not a mistake. You are a return to what your people used to be." Jake grabbed Zara's hand, his eyes shining with excitement. "Do you understand what this means? You are not broken. You are special. You carry the best parts of your people's history." Zara felt tears running down her face, but for once they were tears of joy instead of pain. "So I am not a freak?" "You are a treasure," Dr. Wells said firmly. "Your genes represent traits that could help the Kelthani become explorers and innovators again, instead of just warriors. You could be the key to your people's future." That night, as Zara and Jake lay together in their shared cabin, she felt something she had never experienced before: pride in who she was. Her whole life she had been told she was wrong, broken, a mistake. Now she knew the truth. She was not a failure, she was a gift. "What are you thinking about?" Jake asked, running his fingers through her hair. "I am thinking about going home," Zara said, "not to hide or apologize, but to show them who I really am." Jake smiled and kissed her forehead. "Then that is what we will do, together." For the first time since her exile, Zara began to plan her return to the world that had rejected her. But this time she would not go back as a broken outcast begging for acceptance. She would return as someone who knew her own worth, supported by people who loved her, armed with the truth about her heritage. This time she would make them listen. The journey to Vorthak Prime took 2 weeks, and Zara spent every day of it fighting between excitement and terror. She had not seen her homeworld in over a year, and she was returning with news that could change everything. But would her people listen, or would they simply exile her again? "You do not have to do this," Jake said for the 100th time as their ship approached the planet. "We can turn around right now and go back to our life among the humans." "No," Zara said, watching her homeworld grow larger in the viewing screen. "I have to try. If Dr. Wells is right, there might be other Kelthani like me who are suffering the same way I did. I cannot help them if I run away." Captain Hayes had insisted on coming with them, along with Sam, Katie, and Dr. Wells. "If the Kelthani government wants to meet with you, they can meet with all of us," she had said. You're part of our crew now, and we protect our own. The human government had also sent an official representative, Ambassador Claire Davis, who carried documents recognizing Zara as a citizen of both Earth and whatever world would accept her. It was a powerful statement of support that made Zara feel less alone. When their ship landed at the capital spaceport, Zara was surprised to see a crowd waiting for them. Word had somehow spread about her return and the genetic discoveries. Some Kelthani in the crowd looked angry, but others seemed curious. A few even looked hopeful. Council leader Vex met them at the landing bay, flanked by 6 other council members. His expression was as cold as Zara remembered, but she noticed something different in his eyes. Uncertainty, maybe even worry. "So," Vex said in his deep voice, "the defective one returns, and she brings aliens with her." "I bring friends," Zara corrected, standing as tall as her 5 feet would allow. "And I bring the truth about what you call defective." Dr. Wells stepped forward and bowed politely. "Honored Council Leader, I am Dr. Patricia Wells of the Human Genetic Research Institute. I have made discoveries about Kelthani DNA that I believe will interest you greatly." Vex looked like he wanted to dismiss them immediately, but the crowd was listening now. Many Kelthani had gathered to hear what would happen to the exile who dared return home. "Very well," he said finally. "You may present your evidence to the council, but make it quick." The council chamber was exactly as Zara remembered, cold, imposing, designed to make individuals feel small and powerless. But this time she was not alone. Jake stood beside her, along with her human friends and Dr. Wells. Their support gave her strength she had never felt before. Dr. Wells presented her findings with scientific precision. She showed genetic charts, explained the ancient DNA markers, and demonstrated how Zara's traits connected to the greatest periods of Kelthani history. When she finished, the chamber was silent. "Impossible," said Council Member Drex, an old warrior with scars covering his face. "The ancient stories are myths. Our people were always warriors." "With respect," Dr. Wells replied, "your own historical records disagree. Before the Great War 1,000 years ago, Kelthani were known throughout the galaxy as explorers and inventors. The genetic evidence supports this completely." "Even if this is true," Vex said slowly, "it changes nothing. The exile was lawfully declared for genetic deviation from accepted norms." That was when Zara found her voice. "Genetic deviation that represents the best of our people's past," she said, her words carrying clearly through the chamber. "You exiled me for being different, but difference is what made our people great." She walked closer to the council table, ignoring the gasps from the audience. "For a year I lived among humans. Do you know what I learned? I learned that strength comes in many forms. I learned that intelligence matters as much as muscle. I learned that people can value each other for who they are, not just what they look like. Humans are weak," spat Council Member Cree. "They accept defects because they have no standards." Jake stepped forward, his face calm but his voice carrying an edge of steel. "Humans conquered space while your people were still fighting tribal wars. We did it not through strength alone, but through cooperation, innovation, and accepting that different people have different gifts." "You dare lecture us, alien?" Vex demanded. "I dare defend the woman I love," Jake replied without hesitation, "and I dare point out that you threw away someone who could have made your people better." To prove his point, Zara activated a small device she had brought with her. A holographic display showed the navigation improvements she had made to human ships, the efficiency increases, the new techniques she had developed. "This is what I have accomplished in 1 year of freedom," she said. "Imagine what I could have done if you had supported me instead of exiling me." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some Kelthani looked impressed despite themselves. Others seemed angry that she had shared their techniques with aliens. But a few looked thoughtful, as if they were reconsidering old assumptions. "I am not asking you to change your laws overnight," Zara continued. "I am asking you to reconsider what strength means. I am asking you to think about other Kelthani who might be suffering because they are different. And I am asking you to remember that our greatest achievements came from minds that saw new possibilities, not just from hands that held weapons." An older council member named Thyra spoke for the first time. "What exactly are you proposing?" "An exchange program," Ambassador Davis said, stepping forward. "Human and Kelthani scientists working together, sharing knowledge and perspectives. We believe both our peoples could benefit greatly from cooperation." "And what of you?" Vex asked Zara. "Do you expect us to simply forget your exile and welcome you back?" Zara took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for since learning the truth about her genetics. "I do not want to come back," she said, surprising everyone, including herself. "I have found a home among people who value me, but I want your permission to serve as an ambassador between our peoples. I want to help build bridges instead of walls." "You would choose aliens over your own kind?" Drex asked with disgust. "I choose people who choose me," Zara replied. "But I also choose to believe that someday Keltani can be those people too." The council debated for hours while Zara and her friends waited. Finally, Vex called them back. "The council has decided," he announced. "Your exile is officially lifted. Furthermore, we agree to a trial exchange program with the humans to be overseen by you as our representative." It was not a complete victory, but it was more than Zara had dared hope for. As the formal ceremony ended, she noticed young Kelthani in the crowd looking at her with something like admiration. Maybe change would be slow, but it would happen. The real celebration came 6 months later, when Zara and Jake were married aboard the New Dawn in a ceremony that combined human and ancient Kelthani traditions. Representatives from both governments attended, along with crew members who had become family, and even a few Kelthani who had begun to see value in diversity. As they exchanged vows under the light of distant stars, Zara thought about how far she had traveled from the broken exile who had arrived at Haven's Rest. She had lost her birth family, but found something better. People who loved her not despite her differences, but because of them. "Do you know what I love most about you?" Jake whispered during their first dance as husband and wife. "What?" Zara asked, smiling up at him. "You are exactly the right size to fit perfectly in my arms," he said, spinning her around as their friends cheered. Later that night, as they stood together on the observation deck watching the stars, Zara reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She had been banished for her size, rejected by her own people and left to struggle alone in a hostile universe. But that same size had led her to salvage work, where she met the humans who would change her life. Her difference, once a source of shame, had become the foundation of her happiness. "What are you thinking about?" Jake asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I am thinking about how strange life is," Zara said. "The thing that seemed like my greatest weakness turned out to be my greatest strength." "Maybe it was never a weakness at all," Jake suggested. "Maybe you just needed to find the right place to use your gifts." As the New Dawn sailed through space toward their next adventure, Zara smiled. She had found more than the right place. She had found the right people, the right love, and the right understanding of who she was meant to be. Her size had not changed, but everything else had. She was no longer the exile who had been banished for being different. She was the ambassador who had been chosen for being unique, and in Jake's arms, surrounded by friends who had become family, she finally understood that she had always been exactly the right size for the life she was meant to live.